All right, here is one way that we can use to figure out the density of an object, and this is where we can actually calculate the volume based upon length, width, and height. This is our cube here. You can see that, and I've given you dimensions of that. That's like a 4 by 4 by 4 centimeter cube, and it weighs 160 grams. So the important thing to remember here is this formula, which is density, or D, equals mass, M, divided by volume, V. And we can see here that we've got the mass already given to us, but we got to figure out the volume, which is this thing here. And this is where this other handy equation comes in, this formula, which is, in this case, volume equals length times width times height. And you can probably guess that's why we have these numbers here, this 4 by 4 by 4. Now it's a cube, so basically the length is 4 centimeters, the width is 4 centimeters, the height is 4 centimeters, but you could do this for another object that was more rectangular, and again, you're just basically going to multiply those values together. So if we were to write this out, and I do encourage you to write these out, let's go with 4 centimeters times 4 centimeters times 4 centimeters. Now, if we do the math on this, you would see that this would be 64. Let me just zoom in here a little bit so it stays consistent. 64 centimeters cubed. We got to make sure that we're really careful with the units. You'll notice here that I wrote down the units for the length, width, and height. And as a result, because we multiplied all of those together, it's also reflected in the units as well. This is a measurement and the units for volume. All right, so we're going to come back to this equation now, and let's complete the problem here. We're going to try to find density. And we now know that our volume is, based on our calculation below, 64 centimeters cubed, and our mass is, based on the diagram there on the left, 160 grams. Next, we just do the math, and if you type it into your calculator or whatever you do, it's 2.5, and we got to make sure, again, we keep these units straight, grams per centimeters cubed, and that is a measurement of density. So that's it. So that's our first way of being able to figure out the density of an object, and this works really well when we have these clearly defined dimensions that we can then, use to calculate the volume of that object. And the one that we're using is this one here, this thing called length times width times height. There is a second way, and this is going to be really handy for objects that are not as regularly shaped, but we need to find the density for those objects, and that's coming up next.